All right, we are ready. Holy, let's get going here. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. Hello, hello, hello. Everyone's coming in. Amazing. Welcome, welcome.
All you folks on the other side of the world,
Yeah, let's get them all in.
woohoo!
They're all on mute. That's good. We got lots to cover today. For those that have ever done our calls, we're pretty rapid fire. We go through a lot. So hopefully you have your pen and paper on hand for some valuable notes. We're going to be starting here. Yep. And the chat line is open. So those, I'd love to hear where you're calling from, what part of the world, because we have individuals from all over the world probably here. So I'd love to know what part of the world you're at and also what the weather is. We're right now in Mexico and it's
Pouring rain.
It's pouring rain. Yeah. It's still warm though. So yeah.
It looks beautiful out there. The plants are happy. They're smiling.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free to say hi in the chat. Hopefully the chat line is open for you. Because that's where you're going to be asking your questions in the chat line.
Calls from Ottawa.
Yeah, we
25
got Ottawa,
degrees.
25. Nice.
That's nice.
Okay, we got Gina. Yeah. Yeah, let's get going. Good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I'll let people in.
Yeah, can you? Okay,
Yeah.
so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to introduce, you guys can hear me okay? Can you hear us okay? Yeah? Good. Yeah?
Nilla from Sweden.
Okay, good. Okay, so basically, welcome to this masterclass. We've been wanting to do this for quite a while, and now this is our day. And we get asked a lot, how do I get rid of belly fat? And this loose skin, after I start to lose weight, how do I tighten that up? What's the easiest way to do that? So I'm like, well, why don't we just do a masterclass on that? Because I talk little bits of it throughout, all my trainings, but why not just put it into one deep dive? And so I thought, okay, well, let's do that. And so you're going to learn all about how to burn belly fat, how to tighten up the loose skin. And you'll be able to do this once you follow these steps, you'll be able to keep yourself that way forever. That's the key here. And so for those of you who don't know who I am and who this amazing gentleman is, I'm Michelle Hart. I am a clinical nutritionist and detox specialist. And this is Reese.
And I've been helping people out for about 45 years in natural health, helping them with their health journey as well.
Mm-hmm. And so we decided that we were on a personal mission to help men and women over 40 finally release the belly fat for life. Okay, because we feel there's a big need for that. So that is all we do day in and day out. And that's likely why you're on this call today. So we're going to start by sharing our screen.
Yeah.
And get started. Here we go. Okay, so
I'm going to need to let people in.
I'm going to use this. All right, so if you can raise your hand, can you see on the screen where it says how to burn belly fat and lose flabby skin? Can you see that? Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good. We're off to the races. Let's go. Again, throughout the time that I'm speaking, if you have a question, just put it in the chat. All right. So basically what we're doing is you're going to learn today the most effective way to burn fat when you're over 40. And this is an advanced training. Okay, so you're going to learn some nuances today and even some new things that maybe you haven't heard of. And so we already talked about who we were. So today what you're going to learn in this masterclass is you're going to understand fat burning after 40, the actual science. We'll dive into some hormone changes, some health impacts, also the difference between men and women, and how they are able to burn fat. Okay. We're also going to get into how to use your own body's natural growth hormone instead of the injections or the pills. You can make it yourself. Also the impact that HIIT can have, intermittent fasting and carbohydrates to optimize this fat loss. Then we're going to get into some effective fat burning strategies, more advanced trainings. We'll get into strength training and protein and carb timing and all these other things. And at the very end, you're going to have 5 things that you can do. If you do them ASAP, you will actually start to melt away the belly fat and start to tighten up that skin for life. So who's ready for this? I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited. This is good. There'll be lots of bonuses as well. Now, I always want to start with this one slide, which I really treasure, and that is we want to we want to look at this like a game, okay? And you're probably somebody who's been trying things that you did when you were 20, and you're wondering like, why isn't it working? Like it worked before, but it's not working now. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And so I want you to look at this like a game, okay? And have fun all along the way. It's not about dieting, eating less and exercising more. It's about like having fun winning this game, okay? And so before the game, what athletes do that win the game is they prepare for the game mentally. And so you want to win the game before it's played. And so what I mean by that is if you're somebody who sees yourself this way, regardless of what's in the mirror, this is like how you see yourself. That's who you're going to be. So the first step, the mistake that most women over 40 I make is they see, they believe, and they act like that overweight version of themselves. Your body will follow the mind. And so if we don't get this right, you're going to have a hard time. All right. And today I'm going to make this very easy for you. Let's start with the mindset and take a check. Is this you? Is this how you see yourself? I guess they call it body morph. What is it?
Dysmorphia.
Dysmorphia. Thanks. So we want to change that today. All right. So that's shifting as of now. All right. How I learned about this was I actually worked with legendary Bob Proctor, and it was so many years ago when I was asked to write a book with him. And I was just doing nutrition and exercise and all that thing. Here's the book here. We wrote a book together. And what he taught me, something I always remember. He's such a legend. Do you guys know who that is? Bob Proctor. He's from the movie The Secret, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He's like one of those manifestors. Brilliant man. I got to have dinner with him. Wow. Extraordinary. Anyways, so basically what really sat with me that I took from our working together was you see it first, you've got to truly believe it. And then you are that, you be that person now. Okay. So I want to challenge you right now. It's time to look at burning belly fat and tightening loose skin differently than you've ever done before, with a new set of eyes. And these are the eyes of seeing who you actually want to be and be that version now. So that's the first step. Okay. So this is where I want you to see yourself. All right. That nice, slim, beautiful waistline, loving this beautiful body. The body has done so much for you. It's time to give it literally a hug. Fall in love with your body. Fall in love with the journey. So we also know it's not just mindset. We've got to do the work, right? So it's a physiological problem. It is. What is it? It's a metabolic dysfunction. There's something going on in the body that needs to be fixed. So there's that too. All right. And it's a real thing. If you're over 40, your body's metabolism, your muscle composition, and your hormone levels, they shift in a way that can make fat loss very challenging. That's what you're experiencing now. However, when we understand the game, this is a game, we're playing to win. When you understand the game, you're going to know how to win the game. And today we're going to win the game. Okay. We're going to learn how. So commit to it. Just say, yep, I'm ready. Just do it. You know, just one step in the right direction. Just do it. Play to win. I'm going to show you how. Okay. We're going to show you how. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to understand fat burning after 40. Here's the science. Yes, hormones do change. The biggest driver are these two hormones. There'll be one I'll introduce later. Okay. Estrogen and insulin. These are the biggest drivers to weight gain that we need to get right. Okay. And so what happens is estrogen in women naturally decline. It does after age 40, 50, 60. And this directly impacts fat distribution. What does that mean? Estrogen, the hormone, directs where the fat is stored. Okay. And so when you have a lot of estrogen, right, and you're young and you're 20, where does it deposit? In the hips and the thighs. Okay. That's the natural place, right? But what happens is when you're over 40 and you have very little estrogen, where does it deposit? In the midsection. That's why you have that belly, because you don't have estrogen in your favor. You've got other hormones that is driving the midsection weight gain. So estrogen, when you have more amounts of it, you're going to put it, like I said, the hips and thighs. So here we are. It directs where it's stored in the body. Now, insulin, this one here, you really got to know insulin. That directs how much fat is stored. Okay, estrogen, where it's stored, insulin, how much fat is stored. And then if we can talk, if there's some women here probably know about HRT, maybe you're on them, maybe you're not on them. What do I do? Well, progesterone, just so you know, promotes insulin, but can promote weight gain, because what happens is it has a powerful effect with insulin. We can talk about that after. But if you're somebody who's on progesterone and you're not feeling quite right, it may be too much progesterone, is what I'm saying. So really get your HRT, maybe perhaps looked
Dialed
at, dialed in.
Yeah.
So again, estrogen tells the body where to store the fat, and insulin says how much fat to store. Okay. So that's the biggest first takeaway that I would like to share. And so let's get into the rest here. So what are the health impacts? Well, if we don't get this right and we keep doing what we're doing, and we don't have estrogen in our favor, okay? Because estrogen actually makes you a superhero. I didn't get to this, but when you have more estrogen, you have better blood sugar balance and you have lower inflammation. That's why that's why it's easy for you to get back into your shape just by doing things that you did when you were 20, because you had estrogen in your favor. You were like a superhero. Well, as the estrogen goes down, you're not so much of a superhero. You have blood sugar dysregulation and more inflammation. What does that mean? That means when you keep doing the same thing and not know that that's happening, then the fat that you have, the fat stores that you have, they actually start to expand because you don't have estrogen in your favor. They start to get bigger and bigger and bigger by doing the wrong things. And that leads to, you've probably heard about this before, insulin resistance, where the insulin signal isn't there, and then you're storing all this fat and it goes in the midsection. And the risk factors to this is pretty significant. So if we don't take care of this piece, if we don't start to shrink the fat cells and get the insulin right and work with the estrogen, then what happens is osteoporosis you create that in your body. You start to have cardiovascular issues and dementia. All these things are linked to this issue here with the fat cells expanding. And so that is what's happening. Now, just so you know, we know this to be true. And so, okay, well, how do we mitigate that? Well, if we don't mitigate that, the two things that you will die from, unfortunately, there are two things that are prominently what you'll die from that you'll know eventually, is fragility. That means you'll be weak and you'll lose your brain. So just so you know, as you age, if we don't do the right things, we're going to get weaker and we're going to lose our brain. So we need to mitigate that. How do we do that? We need to get into good metabolic, we need to fix the metabolism, because that is the underlying cost of these things. And so with you being on the call today, really, really important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, yes, these hormones do change. Now, did you want to get into, I guess we can get into the males after. Okay, so you may be wondering, like, okay, so this is for menopausal women. I know there's some males on the call here as well, or you have male partners. And I just want to give you some insight on what happens to them also when the hormones start to decline after age 40. What happens to them?
So the two different things that are very, very similar, one is for men and one is for women. So menopause we're very familiar with. Something we're not quite as familiar with is andropause. Sometimes we haven't heard that word before. But if you find that you're the man in your life or men in your life that you're either working with or partners with, whatever, they're going through hormonal changes as well, right? And so they're going to be having additional belly fat. They might be getting a little grumpier or moody, right? All the women are going, no, that's not happening in my life. No grumpy old men in my life. So anyway, it's the same thing that's going on. It's an imbalance of hormones. Insulin resistance, for anybody that doesn't know, insulin is a hormone that's produced by the pancreas to lower blood sugar in the body. And after a while, if we don't curb our sugars in our blood, the body keeps pumping more insulin out, but the cells aren't hearing that signal. So they become resistant to the message of insulin, which is to bring blood sugar down. And the body goes, not hearing me, I'm going to keep pumping more and more insulin out until the point where the cells become resistant to the message of insulin, and therefore blood sugar goes up. Insulin is super high, and we bump into all kinds of aging diseases, right? So where women are starting to lose estrogen as their primary hormone, men, and we both have estrogen and testosterone. Men are losing primarily their testosterone. And as that starts to go, their bellies get a little softer, hormones get out of whack, and they bump into insulin resistance. One of the things that's kind of new for a lot of people is as bellies grow, i.e. fat, internal or external, the visceral inflammatory fat or the outside fat that we can pinch, it's actually hormonal. And so what it does is it actually produces inflammation. So now we're on this circle of getting more fat, increasing inflammation, getting more fat, increasing inflammation, getting more fat, increasing inflammation. And we wonder, what the heck is going on and how do we stop it? The solutions are very similar for both men and women.
Yeah, that's really good. So it's happening to them as well. They may not be sharing this with you, but it's all happening inside of them as well. Okay, so just so you know, we need to have some compassion to our male partners because they're going through the same thing.
The other thing I'd like to pop in there, it's actually another training that we should do, but as estrogen makes things grow, I used to say boobs or bellies, yours or mine. And really, it does the same thing for men, right? So men get man boobs, whatever, and their bellies grow as well. But the other thing that goes on with men is we hear about prostate health, right? That little walnut-sized gland that's down there. And so what's happening is it's not testosterone that's the problem that a lot of the medical field feel is the problem. And so they put you on testosterone stopping medications and turn you essentially into a woman. It's really estrogen. Estrogen makes things grow, boobs or bellies, and also the prostate. So keep that in mind for the future.
Okay, so yes, things do change. So we already spoke about this vicious cycle, but really I need to shine some light on this.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
so
do.
with this understanding, we're going to uncover the specific factors. What is driving weight loss? What is driving the belly fat? And then how to counteract it. It truly is a vicious cycle. Okay. So where it starts is blood sugar instability. Okay. And so when you have blood sugar instability, and how do we even get that? Well, we eat the wrong foods at the wrong time. That's the number one way to have blood sugar instability is your diet's off and your lifestyle, but mostly it's the diet that's off. Okay. And so when that happens and we have this blood sugar disability and instability, what happens is anytime blood sugar surges, you stop fat loss right away. Why? Because you're raising insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone. Anytime blood sugar raises, insulin goes up to bring blood sugar down. So if you're raising blood sugar throughout the day with the wrong kind of diet, too many carbs, eating too many times a day, insulin has to come up to bring blood sugar down. Anytime insulin comes up, you stop fat burning. So you're wondering, oh, but I thought I was supposed to be eating, 5 times a day and getting my salad in and all these carbs. Well, you've stopped fat burning. You can't burn fat. You can't, it's not even possible. Okay. And so that's the first thing is you've got to make sure that the blood sugar you're not raising it all throughout the day. It's got to stay stable. When it does, guess what? Insulin stays down. Now we have the ability to burn fat. That's how it works.
And if you want evidence of that, take a look at a diabetic, type 1 or type 2, and what they recommend for type 1 or type 2 diabetic is keep eating your carbs throughout the day. Yeah. Keep eating every few hours. Make sure you have a candy bar with you. Make sure you have some sugar with you. And what it does is the body keeps producing more insulin. Yeah. Eventually it shuts down. They go from type 2 to type 1. Yeah. And now they have a customer for life, right? Now you're taking insulin shots.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if this is you, but when your blood sugar is dysregulated, so is your mood. You're wondering, why am I irritable? Why am I moody? Well, check your blood sugar because that's going to have a direct impact on your mood as well. Okay. So we've got to do everything we can to keep the blood sugar stable. When it's unstable, then what happens is Alongside of that, your hunger satiety becomes unstable. So what is that? Those are hormones called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin and ghrelin. So leptin tells the body it's satisfied, so you don't need to eat. And ghrelin tells the body you're hungry. But if your blood sugar becomes destabilized, what follows that is your hunger satiety. So if you can't tell when you're hungry or full, what are your chances of even eating, like, what are your chances of even burning fat when you're not eating at the right times? It's not possible. Okay, so we need to get these signals right. We need to get these signals right. Okay, so then what happens is if we don't get these signals right, we have blood sugar dysregulation, we have appetite dysregulation. Then what happens is the body's inflaming. It's inflaming because it's like, wait a minute, things are falling off the rails. Something's not right here. Let's bring the inflammation up and go, surveillance to see what's going on. There's something going on. And then that actually also leads to insulin resistance as well. That in and of itself, chronic inflammation, that leads to insulin. And then what happens then is you've just got fat storage. Where does the fat store? In the midsection, the visceral fat, the deep fat. That's the inflammatory fat. That is the dangerous fat, is around the midsection and surrounding the organs. Not the really jiggly fat. That's not as dangerous, but it's the deep fat. It's the visceral fat. It's the midsection fat. That is the dangerous fat. Why? Because it's always releasing inflammatory markers that tells the body there's something going on. And so you stop fat burning. Body goes, oh, we have a red alert here. We need to take care of this. And so it's like a vicious cycle. I've got it all kind of laid out here, but this is where we see a lot of issues. So now that we've gone through that, maybe just take a check-in and go, wait a minute. Have I noticed shifts in my appetite? Can I actually tell when I'm hungry or full? That's really important to recognize. If not, you've got to get that right. You've got to get the appetite that work. And also, do I have food cravings? See, if you've got food cravings, then we know that these things are off the rails. Okay. So that's important. Again, we have the chat line open if you guys want to ask any questions on what we're talking about here. But yeah, ask away
later.
Yeah. So now we've talked about the problem with this. We talked about blood sugar dysregulation. We talked about inflammation. We talked about if these things are off the rails and you're going to get the deep fat, you're going to grow the deep fat, you won't be able to tap into the fat loss. So let's talk about how to use your own body's natural growth hormone, because you can make it yourself. How to implement HIIT. You've heard about HIIT, intermittent fasting and carbohydrates. So I don't know if you've heard about this one hormone, but we talked about estrogen and insulin, but there's this other hormone that actually is a big player to losing fat. And it's actually called growth hormone. And it's the not so talked about fat burning hormone. Did you know that you produce this? Okay. And it's largely responsible, not only just largely responsible of breaking down that deep fat, the growth hormone. So this, not only does it break down fat, when you release it, it breaks down your fat. It also helps you build muscle, okay? And this is really important to pay attention to, especially if you're over 40. It actually starts to decline even as early as age 30, okay? And so the study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found people with reduced growth hormone have a 60% chance of increasing that deep fat, the visceral fat. So it has a direct impact. So we've got to go, well, how does it, we had a lot of growth hormone. Why is it tanking? What is it about it? What am I doing right now that's tanking my growth hormone that is not allowing me to burn fat? Well, the number one thing I have to say is, listen, food is powerful. What you eat is the biggest lever to pull out of all of this. It's what are you putting on your fork? Okay, that's the biggest thing, the power of food. So it's really the carbohydrates. It's the wrong type of carbs, okay? If you eat the wrong type of carbs, you're driving growth hormone down. You are lessening your chance of burning body fat. And just think of like what is kind of promoted out there generally think about like just regular breakfast. What do I hear all the time? Here we talked about cereal, milk, toast, jam, orange juice, bowls of fruit, coffee with creamer. You'll see all that, like that's all sugar. So that's kind of where it was. That's the regular. But what I'm hearing now lately is yogurt, granola, and fruit. Oh, and no, I eat, oftentimes I get this a lot. I'm eating really healthy, Michelle. I can't understand why I can't lose weight. I'm having my yogurt and I'm having my granola
Low fat yogurt.
and I'm having my fruit. I'm like, okay, so as your first meal, you've already set yourself up for failure because that's, again, all of that, there's a little bit of fat in there, but it's sugar and it's inflammatory to the body. Listen, most people can't digest yogurt, regular yogurt. If you're overweight, I already know you can't. Okay, because we need to take the fire, that we need to get rid of inflammation.
Yeah.
Regular yogurt is inflammatory to the body, believe it or not. And the reason for that is because the cells go, wait a minute, I'm not expecting that. I'm not used to that. What is that? And so it'll inflame, saying, oh, there's a problem in here. This shouldn't be in here. And then you're leading yourself to fat gain because you have inflammation. So there are some individuals, when they're metabolically healthy, they can have yogurt, but what's the kind of yogurt they can have? They can have yogurt that is from when you look at yogurt, we have an A1 source and an A2 based on the cows that produce it. Jersey land cows are A2. That is a yogurt that actually our cells can understand. They can go, oh, I'm used to that. Yeah, I can have that. So if you were to, once you become more metabolically healthy and your digestive system starts to get better, then you can start to explore yogurt, but it's an A2 source yogurt, one that the cells are expecting. A1 is inflammatory. The regular Greek yogurt, those are from cows that's not a food we can digest. And there's so much on Instagram about yogurt. And I'm like, no. So that's one thing. The other thing is granola. Like, what is actually in your granola? Granola sounds like so healthy, but if you actually look at the ingredients in granola, have a look. What is actually in there? Okay. And so you're going to want to make sure that that is no wheat for sure. And then seed oil. So you've got to really take a look at that. But also, it's like a waste of your appetite. It's a waste of the granola is a waste of your appetite. Your appetite really needs to go to different types of foods, and we're going to get into what that is. But what we're looking at right now is yogurt being inflammatory, granola is likely inflammatory and a carb, and then we have fruit as a sugar. So that is a recipe for disaster. And the question I always have is, where's the protein in your meal? Like, where's the protein is, we'll get to why that's important. But protein is really important. So if you're having the wrong type of carbs, you're driving growth hormone down. Okay, we don't want to do that. The other one is that maybe your diet's great. Maybe, yeah, no, I'm on the eating plan. It's a plan that's working for him, but your cortisol is high. You're stressed out of your face. Okay, so that also lowers growth hormone. When cortisol is a stress hormone, if you are chronically stressed throughout the day, or if you're a night shift worker, or if something's going on emotionally, then that can actually lead to lowered growth hormone as well. And so
there's all kinds of different stressors, right? We have distress, bad stress. We have eustress, good stress. And so, even if you won the lottery, you've got 1,000 new friends, it's very, very stressful, right? So, but maybe you got into a car accident, that's a short period of time, but maybe you're taking care of somebody elderly at home, or somebody's, you've got a job that you've been in for 10 years. That is very stressful as well. Also, the old mantra of eat less and exercise more that everybody tells you out there. Well, you got to eat less or you don't have any willpower, or you have to exercise more or you have no dedication. Those are two forms of stress. And what do? They cause you to maintain body fat. So these people that are eating an apple a day, hoping that the lower caloric intake is going to help them out, stress, belly fat. The people that are exercising 9 days a week, even though there's only 7, stress, right? So we've got to move away from that.
Yeah, just kind of tap in, like, where are you at with that? Okay, because it does have an effect on your, the weight. The other one is mitochondria dysfunction. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but they actually make your energy. They're powerhouses in your cells that actually make your energy. And so if we're doing things that is causing a decline in this, then that's also going to reduce your growth hormone. We can get into that after. Now we're going to get into, well, how are we going to, we know what's lowering it, okay, but how do we increase it? Well, the first one is this is where HIIT can come in. It has its place, okay? And so these are HIIT means high intensity interval training. And so what it does, they've been showing that if you implement small amounts of HIIT throughout the week in your exercise regime, then it can spike. It literally goes in and it spikes that growth hormone. So then you're getting the release of growth hormone to then be able to really burn fat, allow the process of building muscle. Okay.
The
Yeah.
key here is short.
Yeah, sure.
Short, intense bouts. So that doesn't mean that, oh, if a little bit is good, a lot is better. It is not. It's like totally the opposite. That is more stress. So the people that hear, oh, HIIT's really, really good. So high intensity exercise is amazing. I'm going to go onto the treadmill or go for a run or wear my vest or my weighted vest or whatever and go out for 90 minutes. It's got to be better than just 1 minute off, 30 seconds on, 1 minute off, 30 seconds off, 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, and you're done.
Yeah,
Like
it's really
that's it.
short.
You're finished.
I'll get into more of the tactics there, but the long-standing cardio, no, it's not really where we want to go with this right now. Okay, so we want to get the growth hormone spiking up. The other one I have to say is a big one for me is proper sleep. So how do we even, when do we even release this growth hormone? Like when is the biggest peak of this growth hormone release so that we can optimize that? It's when you're sleeping. It's the deep sleep. That's why with my clients, I always say, you can see here, 70% of daily, 70%, most of your growth hormone secretion happens during sleep, during the slow wave sleep stages. And so that's why I always say, you guys have heard this before, fat loss is sleep dependent. When you get your sleep right, you are shredding when you're sleeping. And one of the ways is because of this growth hormone spike. But you need to be asleep at a certain time. You need to go to sleep at a certain time to be able to get that peak release of growth hormone. And when is that? It's actually the first and second part of your sleep is growth hormone. And what time is that? It's between 12 and 2, midnight and 2 a.m. That is when the growth hormone spikes. That's your window of opportunity to get that right. And so how do we do that? We need to be in bed by 10 p.m. If you're in bed by 10 p.m. and you're sleeping between 12 and 2, you're raising that growth hormone. You are shredding, you are building muscle, all these things. So there's so much magic that happens between 12 and 2 a.m. So if you're somebody who's sacrificing your sleep because you have all these things that you want to do, you're sacrificing your fat loss efforts because this is all, you're resting. Use this as a time to burn fat. Oh my gosh, it's like right there. Not only that, it's actually, I call it the youthful hormone, because if you're burning fat and building muscle, you are creating, this is like super youthful. And can you imagine how good you're going to feel in the morning when you wake up after a rested sleep? Like a kid again, right? So if you can just take anything out of this, let's protect that sleep.
So if you know of any shift workers, it doesn't mean that they will never lose fat. If you can imagine that you have a bucket of stress that you're allowed for the day, or an amount of stress that you're allowed for the day. If you're a shift worker and you know, hey, you know what, I'm changing shifts and I'm only going to be able to sleep 4.5 hours. I'm just reading the screen 4.5 hours tonight. Then that's a stressor on my body. So I used this much of my stress bucket. I have this much left. How can I either fill that stress bucket back up by relaxing somewhere or taking out, mitigating some of the other stress that's in my life at that time, right? So it could be like maybe on that day, I don't train for an hour and a half, right? Because that would be super stressful. Maybe I find a way to relax. Maybe I'm journaling. Maybe I'm meditating. There's got to be a way to reduce or fill the, however you look at it, fill the stress bucket so you have more capacity for that stress that you put on yourself during that time that you didn't get your sleep. Will you release growth hormone? No. But you have some other factors. You're going to reduce the amount of cortisol that we've already talked about, which is going to help your insulin balance as well.
Yeah. So let's get that sleep in, because we already know 4.5 hours of sleep dampens growth hormone rise at night. And so we just want to do everything we can to get that sleep. Okay. The third one, we talked about how do we increase this like youthful hormone that we talked about. So we talked about HIIT, which I'll get into a little bit more tactics later. We talked about sleep. Here's the third one. This is so big. Listen, fasting. We can use it in our favor. fasting is how you're going to burn fat. It's also going to help you release that growth hormone. And so research shows that fasting can, when you do it right, which I'll give you some tips today, when it's mandatory, we've got to get this right. It's going to increase your growth hormone levels, okay, by quite an extraordinary amount. All right. And what we found was research actually shows that overweight individuals, we already know they have reduced growth hormone levels, and that losing body fat, when you start to do the right things, you can start to restore that growth hormone. You can reverse your aging. You can reverse your aging with these kind of things. So there might be some questions coming up. Have you noticed changes in your body composition and energy since you're changing every decade? Have you noticed there's been some shifts? Yeah. So now you're getting an understanding of why that's happening.
And Reese, I thought you said that if you lowered your calories too low, that would be a problem and a stress on the body, and therefore it would hold body and actually create more belly fat. Yes, that's true. But for intermittent fasting, what you're doing is strategically eating during a window, and you're still getting the same amount of calories in, but just during that window, right? So
I'm going to
just-
get into
just
that
to
later.
clarify.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the fasting in a moment, some tactics, but just so you know, fasting done right is really going to be in your favor. It's actually mandatory.
Powerful.
It is very important for so many reasons. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into these more nitty gritty of the implementing effective fat burning strategies. And number one would have to be the muscle building. Okay, so we've got to think, okay, you're going to move, you're going to exercise. What is the biggest bang for my buck? You got to do resistance training. It's actually a non-negotiable. Why? Because the number one thing we all need to do when we're 40 is build as much muscle as we can. Why? Because it's going to help you release the body fat, because muscle mass takes a lot more energy to hang on to. So that means when you eat, you get to eat way more food. If you love food, you've got to weight train. Because when you eat, this requires a lot of calories. So you're able to eat a lot of food without getting fat. You actually build more muscle when you eat the right foods. So we're going to want to build as much muscle as we can. Okay. And when you do, you actually at rest, when you have more muscle at rest, because you have this, you have more muscle, you burn way more calories just by standing than somebody who has little muscle mass. So if you see two people at the same weight, one person has, 30% more muscle mass than the other one. The one that has 30%, even if they're the same weight, they're going to be burning way more calories just at rest to maintain the muscle than the one that isn't. So it is a mandatory thing. And we did talk about, here's the thing, you're going to die of either frailty or dementia. Frailty, what is that? Low muscle mass. We've got to start now. Resistance training, okay? And if you're just starting out, don't worry. Just start, find a program that is suited for you. All of our clients get customized program to them, and we focus on the resistance training, the strength training. And if you're somebody who's like, yeah, I don't like going to the gym, I'm embarrassed, and that's okay. That it doesn't matter. You don't have to go to the gym. You can do it at home.
Yeah.
There's always a way. Here's the thing, but here's the thing, it's mandatory, okay? And
for some of those women that say, it's not fair, like when I'm trying to lose weight, I look at food and I gain weight, but my husband, he's on the same program, but he loses more weight. One of the reasons is that men tend to carry more muscle than women.
Yeah.
And so they have that higher metabolic engine running for them in their favor.
Yeah, and that may have happened to you. You're both on the same plan. Your husband's losing all this weight and you're not. It's the testosterone and the muscle mass. That's the reason. You're two different people, okay? And so you require a different strategy than your husband. Yes, we want whole foods. Yes, we want these principles, but really there are different strategies, okay? Because you're hormonally different. You're hormonally different. But what we're going to do is we want to resistance train and use that in our favor, because it's actually mandatory, especially if you want to age well. Why do you have loose skin? Why? Because we need to tighten it. The best way to tighten loose skin is to build muscle. You're going to fill up that space with muscle. If you don't, you'll have flabby skin. That's fat. How to get rid of flabby skin? Build more muscle. That's how to do it. Okay. And it works.
And the other thing is to get the proper nutrition. Michelle will talk about that in a moment. But we hear a lot about collagen these days. Our skin is made of collagen, right? When you take a look at a baby's skin, you don't even see the pores in their hand or whatever, right? And as we age, those pores start to open up and they start to create spaces and then they start to sag, right? And so that's the breakdown of collagen over a period of time. What do we need to create and make collagen? We need protein.
Yeah, protein, you're made more, yeah, exactly. It's a natural facelift. Okay, we can avoid going to the anti-aging doctor. We can just take more collagen and eat more protein, and you'll lift up that flabby skin. You'll look so much younger. Okay, so we talked about resistance training. And we already know after it's a real thing. After age 40, the average decline in muscle mass, they found it to be almost 6% per decade. Okay, and that also means if you don't have the muscle, you're losing your strength. What's going to happen when you're 80? You're going to fall. Then what? Right? Where does that all lead to? We see this all the time. Middle of the night, I have to go to the loo. Okay. Middle of the night, you go to the loo, you fall. Oh, okay. You don't have enough muscle mass to get yourself up, or your bones are breaking down. What happens then? Now you're in the hospital. What happens then? Now you have pneumonia. What happens then? We see this all the time. Okay. And you're in the hospital. Like, we've seen what they do, what they feed you. It's not food, right? It's not really, right? So we want to prevent that today. Today you prevent that. Get that resistance training up.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah,
right?
it's very true.
Just like the astronauts when they went into space and they found out, oh heck, they actually need to exercise because they're up in this weightless atmosphere.
Yeah.
They're losing their bone mass because they're not using it, right? So the body's really super wise. If you don't need it, it will get rid of it.
Yeah. And so they found up to 50% loss by age 70. So we've got to do everything we can to build this muscle. Here's my challenge to you. So I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to, when you're doing your exercise, I actually want you to, I call it the +1. You think you're done with what you're lifting or the amount that you're doing, do one more and see how that feels. Because when you do the one more, you're actually telling the body to build more muscle. And it's usually the brain that stops before the body. So think about, I'm just going to do one more. The more times you do that, the stronger you're going to get, the more muscle you're going to make, the faster your fat loss, the more youthful you're going to be. Okay. And so
And a strategy around that, I was just sharing with somebody the other day. Sometimes we don't have the mental capacity to go through that pain, right? We're like, oh, it hurts kind of. And it's like, because we're just not used to it. That will build up over a period of time. But in the meantime, a way to do it is when you get to your last repetition and you're like, ooh, that's it for me. Take a pause, two deep breaths. And then back at it again and see how many more you can get out. You can probably get 2 to 4 more repetitions out, and it will push you to that next stage until you have the mental capacity to go, I can go through that little bit of what I used to think was pain.
Yeah, you'll notice a major difference in how you feel. You will build so much more muscle just by doing that. You know what? That's how to tighten loose skin. Your body is going to feel tighter. It's not going to be jiggly. Really, really important. So just think about that for sure. And then when you're also training in the gym, just so you know, when you do your workouts, you're actually raising testosterone, which is bone building and libido boosting and muscle building. And remember the growth hormone too. When you train in the gym, you also raise that growth hormone. Okay. And we want to do everything we can to bring that growth hormone, those spikes, we want them high, right? Naturally. And what they found is just 10 weeks of this resistance training and strength training are the same thing. If you ever hear that, it increases testosterone levels in individuals over 50 by an average of 30%. We already know this to be true. So if you want to build strong bones and have a libido and get the muscle up, you've got to do the resistance training. Okay. And the other thing we talked about, what a great, like, you're just walking around burning fat when you have more muscle. And you can eat more food. There's so much benefit to building this muscle. Okay. Because literally they even done studies. They found 7 to 9% after you do the strength training. Just know in your mind, 7 to 9% for up to 72 hours after your resistance training, you're burning 7 to 9% more body fat than not. So it really is a real thing. Okay. So now I want you to take a look at what you're doing now for your strength training. Are you pushing it enough? Maybe you're not. today's the day to do it. Just make that commitment. I'm going to do the +1, or you did them. That's why I don't train for you. He pushes me too hard. He's like, go 2 to 5. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So at least do 1, maybe 2 to 5, whatever. But, so think about that. And is your current regime optimizing strength training? We're going to get into how many times a week we recommend. We'll get into that, but really just take a look at your life right now. Okay. Because these are mandatory things. So we talked about, so the third one is the protein. So this is the key macronutrient for fat loss, I'm telling you, and muscle maintenance. You can't build muscle on carbs. You're not going to build muscle on fat. You're only going to build muscle on protein. Why do we build muscle? Because remember, that is going to allow you to burn fat at night. You're going to burn more fat just walking around, and you get to eat more food, right? So what kind of food do we recommend you eat? Well, protein is the macronutrient for that. What is it going to do? It's going to build your muscle. And not only that, at least preserve it. If you don't want to be like muscular, that's okay. You want to preserve it for the strength, right? And if we look at, well, what is the best protein? If you eat animal protein, that could be fish, chicken, animal. I call fish animal protein. Fish, chicken, eggs,
Any flesh.
beef, any flesh. Yeah. When the fact that you're eating it, and not like a powder or a drink or something like that. The fact that you're eating that animal, when you're eating it, you're raising it takes 30% of the calories of that protein to even break it down. Okay. So it's really a metabolic boost and it's a whole food form too. Just think of all the nutrients you're getting from this animal protein. So many iron, think about healthy iron, think about all CoQ10 for energy, zinc for good, stomach acid production and immune system and skin. Like there's so much nutrients in an animal protein, all right, that is your superior choice over a protein shake. Protein shake is a supplement that you can use when you're busy, you are like you're traveling, you don't have much time to eat, fine. Okay, so anyways, there's that. And when we talk about protein, what we really want to look at is the protein that has high leucine. So when you look at protein, it breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids build your muscle. There's one particular amino acid that you really need to pay attention to. It's called leucine. You can see on the screen. That one is the one amino acid of all the amino acids that we need to get enough of to send a strong signal to build the muscle. Okay. And so we're going to want 3 to 5 grams of leucine per animal protein. So how do we get that? 30 to 50 grams of animal protein per meal will give you enough leucine. If you're below 30 grams of animal protein, you're not going to get that muscle boost. You won't. You haven't had enough leucine. So always remember, if you're going to eat your animal protein, minimum is 30 to 50 grams. I want you to be at the higher end, 50 grams ideally. Okay. And you may be wondering, like, yeah, that's me. Is that you? Insatiable cravings, sugar cravings. You're like, oh, is anyone looking? Why do I have these cravings? Yeah, because likely, how much protein are you having? We see this all the time. I have sugar cravings. I have other kind of cravings. Okay, bring the protein up. Now look at the cravings. Cravings go away. They go away just by eating enough protein. Why? Because it supports leptin, ghrelin. It supports that. Now you can actually tell when you're hungry and when you're full. Cravings go away. It's the magic of protein. So amazing. So amazing. But you need to eat enough, okay? And per meal, right? So that's something else.
And keep in mind that protein's not just for muscle building, it's also everything in your body. So your hair, your eyeballs, everything, all of your hormones, they're all protein based.
Yeah. So we talked about strength training, talked about protein. Now let's get into the carbs. Oh yeah, this thing. Carbs are not all bad. They're not all bad at all. I hear this. I'm on a low carb diet. Really? Why? We don't do you need to actually be on a low carb diet? I don't know. There's so much like misinformation about carbs. I'm gonna walk you through this. So yes, we want carbs. What are carbs? Well, they're not protein and fat, they're plants. Plants are carbohydrates, okay? And so it's like fiber and sugar. That's really what it is. And so what we're going to want to do is we want these foods in our bodies. We do, because they're antioxidants, they're polyphenols. They've got the fiber for the bowel movements. They support good digestion. They allow us to feel more full for longer time, especially the fibrous ones. So we want carb, but we want the right kind of carbs, okay? And so if you are somebody who loves fruit, fruit is going to raise blood sugar on its own, just like this. If you do that too often throughout the day, you will stop fat burning and you will get into insulin resistance. Because remember, insulin all day, the cells go, I'm tired of that. I'm not going to listen. Now you have blood sugar imbalances. Now you have fat gain. So what we're going to want to do is, if you love fruit, here's when to have fruit, okay? After a workout. After a workout, post-workout, that is the best time to have fruit. Why? Because after you train, your muscles are looking for some glucose so that it could store it as glycogen for later use when you're not eating. It's looking for that. It's like a glucose disposal. It's waiting for glucose. The muscles are waiting for it. So we want to time the fruit properly to after the workout, not just before bed. That would be the worst time to have fruit. So yes, fruit can be fine, but just time it after a workout when you know you're going to give the muscles their glycogen and it's not going to store as body fat. Okay. But remember, we want it with protein. So with fruit, never on its own. Remember, blood sugar too high. Yes, it'll go into the muscles, but it's also going to disrupt your blood sugar and lead to not good things. So we want to always add protein every time you eat. So add the protein powder. That's when the protein powder is going to be your friend. Protein powder with fruit would be great. Another option could be nut butter. If you're not really that hungry, but you want your fruit, at least it's going to keep the blood sugar. It's not going to spike up because it'll bring the blood sugar down, because you're adding a fat and a protein to bring the blood sugar down. Now you can have your fruit and enjoy your fruit at the right time, but you've got to get the protein in there. Okay. So that's the time to have fruit. All right. So that's the fruit piece. The other types of carbohydrates that I recommend are, listen, load your plate with the appetite that you have with fibrous vegetables. Low glycemic. Remember, low glycemic means it's not going to raise insulin. It's going to keep insulin down because it's not going to raise the blood sugar. It's low blood sugar, low sugar. Low sugar vegetables with lots of fiber. Oh my gosh, so good for you, because first of all, it's going to keep you satiated along with your protein. Second of all, it's going to feed the good bugs in your digestive tract to actually support good metabolic health. Believe it or not, your gut does have a place for that. And it's not going to cause weight gain. It's not. All right. So we're going to want to have these high fiber, low glycemic vegetables. That's your best carbohydrates. All right. We want color your plate, right? So during the day, you want those with your protein, but it's the evening meal. You got to watch the starchy ones. That one you don't really want during the day. It can make you sleepy. Okay. We want to save it. This is a tool. Save it for your evening meal. Because when you do, that's when you can have your potatoes, your yams, all the below the ground veggies that you love. Save it for your evening meal. Okay. It's going to allow you to have a slow release of glucose, not spike, slow release to help you sleep to the night so that you can raise that growth hormone so that you can burn fat and build muscle and you can wake up with way more energy. Okay. And so that's when we want to add in the starchy vegetables. Okay. And hey, you may go, but what about bread, Michelle? What about all like my rice and my quinoa? We'll call that a starchy carb. Okay. We'll call that a starch. As long as it's a whole food, it's a starchy carb. So yeah, we can have those too. Sourdough bread, that would be a starchy carb. That would be more in the evening than it would be during the day.
Right.
And then we're going to get into this interval training. So what are we doing? Here's a way this is me in Wilden, Kelowna. So interval training, I've been experimenting with this and it actually does work. I'm already shredded. It got me almost too shredded. So these are short bursts of intense exercise. It will directly help with the growth hormone. It will help you burn fat throughout the day. And it's going to support mitochondria. We talked about mitochondria before. This will help you make more mitochondria, which will help you make more energy throughout the day so that you can get up and do the things you like to do. So this is what it does. It really, really does work. And after you've done the HIIT, I'll talk about a really easy way to do it. You have an afterburn after you've done the HIIT. It's only a short bit of exercise, after burn, okay? And this will help bring the metabolism up and help you burn the fat. So think about that, okay? So how are we going to do this? Well, it's super easy. You don't need to go to a class to do HIIT. All you need to do is this. You just need to, like, while even on a walk, just walk a little faster, count to 10. Just walk a little faster, count to 10. And if you want, do a little jog, count to 10. Then go back to normal walking, count to 10. Go a little faster, count to 10. Walk, count to 10. Do that 6 times over, I'm telling you, that will get you more shredded. It will. Especially, here's how I've experimented after my resistance training. On the way back to our meetings, and I'm running a little bit behind, that's when I started doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting shredded. Instead of walking back, I actually jog to count to 10, make it fun, have it a game. And then I walk. That's how I do it.
One of the things to do though, is just as a caveat, is to make sure that you talk with somebody that is familiar with your body, what's going on in your life as well, because we're talking about something that is adding stress. We talked about that pail of stress, and I have this much pail or volume during the day. If we're adding that in, but our life is chaos on top of it, it's not a good thing, right?
He's
So
right.
do talk to
Yeah.
your coach about
True.
where am I in my world of stress? Am I a furry stress ball, or am I like pretty chill? If you're chill, yeah, you can add this in. If you're not doing a lot of other training, you can add this in, right?
Yeah.
So just take a look at, or have a chat with somebody that would be able
Yeah.
to give you some advice on
Yeah,
that.
and then we're going to think about this rest and recovery. So important. What is that going to do? Again, it allows for acute stress response back down again, right? You really need to pay attention to this rest and recovery piece, okay? So that way you won't have chronic cortisol raising all day. It'll just come up and when it needs to, but not all day, right? So that's really, really important. So this is where meditation comes in, a good rest comes in, all that's really important, okay? I'll get into the nutritional supplements at another time because I know we're running behind, which we can actually do an extra call on that. We'll make that a bonus call because I do have like some unfair advantage ones that you guys can look at. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to leave it with these are the 5 things to do ASAP. You guys ready? This is like the last of it. Okay, so 5 things to do ASAP to be able to burn the fat, get rid of loose skin, and be able to keep it for life. The first one is get the resistance training in. We want to do that. We want to do it 3 to 4 times a week. If you're just starting out, at least start with 2. Okay, that's important. Then remember the plus one I talked about. Do it till it's difficult. Okay. Then if you're not really if you're retired and you're not really stressed, whatever, add in a bit of HIIT training we talked about. You'll get even more shredded by doing that. Okay. Think about number 2. So number 1, resistance training. Number 2, optimal protein intake. They have to go hand in hand. Okay. And so, because you can train, but you can be a skinny fat. You don't want that. Okay. You want to get the protein in to build the muscle. Okay. The third thing is we talked about carbohydrate timing, when to have your fruit, what type of carbs to have, when to add in the starchy carbs, even the sourdough bread. We went through all that, right? Okay. Yep. The next thing is, remember this stress response. Make sure you get that sleep in, right? Get to bed by 10. Growth hormone release 12 to 2. Magic happens, okay? And then intermittent fasting. So like Reese was saying, we want to aim for a 14-10 split or a 16-8, which means it literally means no calories from dinner to breakfast for 14 hours or 16 hours. And then you're eating within the other window. And we talked about what to eat. So I call this feed well, fast well, because that is exactly how you're going to burn fat and build muscle at the same time. Okay. So we will do another call on the supplements. And I just want to share with you, if there's a woman here and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start? I need some help. We have a 9-step program that dials everything in that we just talked about for you. So if you're here and you want to be here and you want some help, that's exactly what we do. We've been doing this 24 years. And I know there's some clients on the call, they can kind of share what they're doing. We get success stories all the time, and we're very proud of you all, very proud. Like we get amazed at what we're doing. So just remember, you can't win the game if you don't even play. So we talked about, let's decide, let's do it. Okay. And so we also have a bonus for everyone here. If you want a quick little cheat sheet, and it's called my proven fat loss protocol. I will give that to you for free if you email Michelle at forever.fitandhealthynutrition.com. We will send you this free cheat sheet. It's
So for
all
those of you that are writing, it's MICHALE at forever, FOREVER FITN healthy, HEALTHY nutrition, NUTRITION.com. Michelle at forever.fitandhealthynutrition.com.
Yeah, and if you don't know, just DM me on Instagram. We'll
Yeah.
get back to you. And then what we can do is we can set up an insight call, and we can actually have a one-on-one. Believe it or not, we'll find out where you are, where you want to be, and then help you with that next right step, so that you're always knowing what to do. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're
Yeah.
going to see if there are.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just gonna open. Okay, so we're going to go here and see how we go. Okay. Yes, was that helpful? Did you guys learn anything? Is that really good? Yeah, you picked up some tips? Okay. All right. Just gonna see if there's any quick little questions here. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is we'll have that next call, and we're gonna talk all about supplements. And then I know you guys will have some burning questions, which we'll go over on our next call. It'll be a bonus call. We'll let you know when we're going to be doing that. I'd like to do it sooner than later. So thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you on the next.
See you all soon.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye for now. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.